AI's Canvas editor page allows you to adjust how your image is displayed on your screen surface model. Let's take a bit of a closer look at the page and see what it offers. Okay, so in the main part of the window, what we're seeing is a preview of how we're applying our image, our texture, to our 3D model. So down on the left, we've got some tools that allow us to adjust this. So first of all, we need to select which components of the model we're working with. Now we've got a few different options, as we can see here on the right. We can work with the points, the vertices, those corner points of the 3D model. We can work with the edges of the model, so we can select edge like so. We can work with entire faces of the model, so you can see I've selected half of my object there because it's made of two faces. We've then got groups of faces, so this will select any faces which share vertices, like so, because you can see they've both got two corners shared there. And then next up on the right, we've got object mode, so it's possible in a 3D model to have separate objects within the same file. This can actually make your mapping life a little bit easier if you can separate out the different components of your stage setup. So toggling object mode on will then allow you to swap between the objects in your file by using the next and previous button. Then lastly at the bottom, we've got a way just to toggle between seeing your 3D view there and the canvas editor there. There you go, so you can sort of pop in and out and just see how your adjustments are occurring. Okay, so I'm going to go back to point selection mode, vertex mode, and we're going to look at these tools a little bit more closely. So the first thing I need to do, if I want to actually adjust anything, I need to select some points. So I'm just going to click and drag around all of the points within this project. Okay, so now that I've actually got some pieces selected, the tools that we've got on the left are, the top one is the translation tool. So that lets us quite simply move and adjust which part of the image is shown on the model. So you can see on the right, you can see as I move around this yellow circle, this is the piece that we're capturing to show on the screen. So you can see I'm actually changing what is shown on the model there. Next up we have rotation. So obviously this will rotate what is shown on the surface. We've got the scaling tool here, as you would expect. Then we have a vertical and horizontal flip options. We've got an invert selection button here. So if, say, I only have one point selected, but I actually want to choose the other three, if I press that invert selection button, it will now automatically swap over and choose the other points. And then the very bottom one will reset the selected vertices to the position they were in when the model was loaded. So if we put that back to there, then we select that one and put him back. There we go. Okay, so we can see that we can sort of move the image around, but we might want to do something a little bit more complex. Maybe we're working with a 3D object and we want to sort of wrap our image around that 3D object. So what I'm going to do, I've got a cube model here that I'm going to swap over to. Now this one, if I choose face group objects, there we go. So we can see we've got one face here, one face here, one here, one here, one here, and one there. Face. So what they've done is they've actually wrapped it around that cube. So there are different ways that we can apply this image, this texture, to the cube. The easiest way is to just apply it as a flat planar thing. So imagine you're just holding a piece of paper up with a drawing and holding it against the object. Now you can see that each of these mapping modes has some axes listed on it. So it's X, Y is the starting one. Now if I right click, I can cycle through the options, so Y, Z and ZX. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to apply this image here. I need to select all of my points first of all. I'm going to apply this image to the cube. So you can see here, this is my XY application. So that's our X axis and that's our Y axis. if we put Y as Z, we should hopefully see it along this face on the side, like so. I'm actually around the wrong side of the object there. So if I just rotate us around, it will look correct. There we go. And then finally we've got ZX, that's going to place it along the top panel like so. Okay, so we can use our different orientations to apply this in different ways. Now these are obviously they're flat two-dimensional mappings, but we've got some 3D ones here working on cylinders and spheres as well, and they work in much the same principle. Right clicking will change your axes options. So let's try a cylinder application on an XY. So it's kind of wrapped it around like that, ZX and YZ like so, and we've even got spherical mapping as well, which are really useful if you're working with domes or something like that, and you can see it really stretching around the object there. So we also offer a point of view projection unwrapping. So this goes back to the very old days when we used to make content that was distorted within the content so that it would match its projection target in the final show. Now this was always pretty tricky because you had to know the exact positions of your projectors, your screens, the exact lens ratios, sizes, all that kind of stuff. But if you have worked in that way, you'll find it's very, very inflexible. Everything needs to be in the right place. So this one allows you to redefine a point of view from which you want the content to look good, and then to map it based on that. So next up along the top we have this one, which is like a cube that's been unfolded with a disk icon. So what this does, when we're working with complex 3D shapes, the layout that we have here is often used as a template. So I know, for instance, let's put this back to its original mapping. I know, for instance, that this cube, this square here, is always going to hit this face, and this square here is hiding around here somewhere. Where's he gone? There he is, that one's there, and so on. So from a content creation point of view, if I export this layout as an image and then use it within my content creation tool, my video editor, my animation software, I can animate against this template and know where on my final model my animation will be. So using this button will let you export a TGA, an image file, with this layout on that you can share easily between your team. We've then got the option to export as a CSV file. Now this one's really for the advanced users, but there are times when you need to make some kind of reference to a complex model. Maybe it's for a very complex pixel map. And what this does is, rather than you having to manually work out the individual coordinates of each component, this will automatically create a list, a CSV, comma separated value list with those values in it. Last but not least, we have the OBJ export. So once you've made any changes to your model and how its image is applied, you'll want to save those adjustments to the model. So this will let you export an industry standard OBJ file. Last but not least, down on the bottom right, we do have numerical entry for some of the changes here. So we can numerically enter the amount that you want to move or rotate your object and where you'd like to position it. By default, we work in UV number space, so anyone who's used to 3D models will know that's 0 to 1 and 0 to 1. So top left being 0, 0, bottom right being 1, 1. But we can actually work in absolute pixels as well if you have a preference there.